The most widely accepted definition of a millionaire is an individual who has a net worth of at least 1 million units of currency, usually dollars in the US. This means total assets, everything a person owns of value, like your homes with an S maybe for some of you, stocks, bonds, other real estate, personal property, and business interests. Total liabilities. This includes debt, your mortgages, if you have more than one, car loans, personal loans, credit card balances, student loans, etc. So the formula is net worth equals total assets minus liabilities. If the result is 1 million or more, the individual is technically a millionaire by net worth. There's another way of looking at it. Liquid assets. Some definitions focus on liquid assets. In this case, a millionaire is someone who has 1 million or more in liquid assets, meaning assets that can quickly be converted to cash. This excludes non-liquid assets like real estate until it's sold. So sometimes that's the way when I think about someone who is cash, when I think about them being a cash millionaire, that's Rachel Rodgers. And I don't think I'm telling anything no one knows publicly. She makes a lot of money on a monthly basis. And then she has a lot of cash, and then she has talked about her profit split. So of course, a lot of that money is going, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The money, of course, is not all hers, but the portion that is hers makes her a millionaire, which is really cool. I think that's my personal opinion. Income-based, though less common, some people define millionaires based on their annual income rather than their net worth. By this definition, someone would need to earn $1 million or more annually to be considered a millionaire. However, this doesn't account for expenses or debt, so it's less comprehensive measure. But, the idea is like have a little bit of all of this if you want, right? So the lifestyle and spending. In some discussions, especially in pop culture, a millionaire might be perceived not by their actual net worth, but by their spending habits and lifestyles. This can be misleading, as living a millionaire's lifestyle doesn't necessarily mean you have $1 million in net assets. I'm gonna leave that one there for y'all because some people that you're maybe jealous of, envious of, some people that you might be trying to emulate, some people that you might be trying to you might be a little bit like, oh, I'm so behind. You never know. I always talk to my mom about this because she is very much so like a grass is always greener kind of person. She always is, not anymore actually, but for most of our life that I've known her, she has looked over at what someone else is doing. And I'm like, you don't really know how it's going behind closed doors. You don't really know how they got that, if it's really that. And I say that the grass is greener on the other side, usually because there's a lot of manure over there. Let that marinate. Number 5, this can vary by currency and region, just kind of understood, and then inflation and time. So the purchasing power of $1 million today is very different than a few decades ago. It used to carry more weight to be a millionaire, and it might do today. Just think about that. To me, it still carries a lot of weight. While the term millionaire might be used loosely in various contexts, it's primarily about net worth. Assets minus liabilities. However, the true essence of being a millionaire goes beyond just numbers. It reflects financial discipline, which I don't have a lot of. Like I said, I have financial vision. I don't think I have financial discipline, and I don't think I ever want to. Strategic planning, lots of that. Investments, lots of that. Risk-taking, all of that, and a bit of luck. Being at the right place at the right time. But how do you get yourself at the right place at the right time? That is intention. Luck might be the kismet that happens once you placed yourself there, but work is how you get there. And is this helping people? Let me know in the Q&A. Is this helping you all? Is this resonating? Is this making you think about things in any kind of different way, or am I covering tread ground? Give me a little feedback in the Q&A if you wouldn't mind. Okay. See what you're saying. Yes, powerful. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So generating $1 million for your company versus personal millionaire status. Hey, we might get through all pages. Let's see. Let's try. Okay, so understanding the distinction. When an entrepreneur generates $1 million in revenue for their company, it's undoubtedly a commendable achievement. It showcases your acumen, your business acumen, strategic decision making, and the ability to drive growth. But this revenue does not directly translate to personal wealth. It's what I was talking about with Rachel. She has a bit of all of this, by the way. She has property. She owns a farm with horses, and she has all kinds of real estate, all kinds of investments that she's made in the six figures. She's doing it, right? But let's just think about your company, right? So let's say you made $1 million, and I want you to, when I think about your first million, when I'm talking about you walking on stage at your first million live, that's like gross amount. So if you make your first million, that's what we're talking about. Now, personally, being a millionaire, I want to make sure that there's this distinction again, because we're not talking fluff. We're not talking about what's going to make us feel good. We're talking about the real. So your operational expenses, your revenue because of that is not pure profit. You know that, but just want to make sure everybody is on the same page. You have operational costs involved, like salaries, rent, utilities, marketing, product development, and more. You have debt and liabilities. If you've borrowed funds, or if you have even an investment, you might think, oh, I don't have any debt because I took on an investment. If you're thinking about taking on an investment, most of early stage investment is debt. Some sort of convertible note, some sort of safe, but it's some sort of debt. Sometimes the safe doesn't have to be paid back, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So I wouldn't just look at it as like free money. And at the very least, you owe a piece of your company to that person and to that entity. Taxes, our favorite. Reinvestments. This is what I do all day. I always pour profits back into the business. Every dollar I make a decision about, do I just want that to be what I've done, or do I want to add to that? So when you go to your first million live, you are reinvesting back in your company by doing these things for yourself, not just with me, but anytime you do it with you, for yourself. And then again, as I mentioned, stakeholders or investors, and there's some companies that give dividends. You probably don't, but there are some who do. And mostly they're public, or they're very large companies that do that. But sometimes smaller companies will have a dividend, like a profit share, which is something that I've thought about and still thinking about for a couple of my companies. So even if a company generates $1 million, the actual personal take home for the founder is a fraction of that. But that's all good. What we're talking about here is I want you. I didn't say how to be a millionaire. Like, I didn't say how to be a millionaire. I said how to make your first million. So just having this understanding so that you're more aware. I don't want to say smarter, but you're more aware than the next person. So while generating $1 million in company revenue doesn't make one a millionaire, the skills and experiences garnered in achieving that feat can pave the way for personal millionaire status. Let me tell you how. So financial literacy, just doing this stuff is making you smarter. Networking, again, like being in these rooms, that proximity. I did a survey once on Twitter back when I was using Twitter a couple of years ago, maybe three or 4 years ago. And I asked what people thought was more valuable. And I said, $1 million or whatever amount it was, but it was in the millions just on its own. Proximity to millionaires. And then I had some other thing, right? And the $1 million had no votes, or very few votes. It was all of like the stuff around it. Because if I have $1 million, I have $1 million. Okay, great. But if I have proximity to millionaires, which I do, I've interviewed, there are very few people on this planet who have interviewed as many millionaires and billionaires as I have. That dawned on me recently, and it kind of blew my mind away. Like, there are very few people on this planet who have interviewed as many millionaires and billionaires as I have. That proximity is powerful and palpable. The text messages that I have are crazy. the mentorship, the ability to just ask a question, to be able to just reach out to Mark Cuban and say, hey, how do you handle ... That's not what most of our conversations are like. Most of them are about just like a transaction or about a company. But I can also write to him and say, how do you handle this stage? That's so powerful. And you're building that with your company. Every deal you make, every customer you bring on, everything you learn is bringing you closer and closer to that. Your investment acumen. So you become adept at assessing opportunities, risks, and returns. This is an invaluable skill when looking to grow personal wealth through investment. And if you are interested, I know some of you are already investors, but if you're interested in learning more about investing in startups, and I want to welcome some of the people who have invested in Backstage. Thank you for being here. If you are interested in that, talk to me, because I definitely teach that and, have quite a bit of experience there. Diversification, and then the discipline and long-term vision. I think of things, and I think this is lower here, where I think of ROI in decades, not quarters. Of course, I am human, so I love a good ROI that happens the same day. Like I love that, but I really don't freak out. As much money as I have invested in funds, I've invested in 30 venture funds. I don't know if everybody knows that. I've invested in 200 plus companies through Backstage with my team. But I've also personally invested in 30 venture funds that are led by underestimated managers since 2019. And I'll oftentimes get kind of frantic messages from our investors in Backstage, like, what's going on? What are we doing? And I have to explain to them and remind them, hey, it's a 10-year vehicle and ... The way that the way I invest is I'm there for you, and I'm okay, even after being homeless and having financial insecurity all of my life up until 35, and food insecurity all of my life up until 35. If I put $100,000 into a fund and the fund goes under, I'm okay with that. And I know why, because I think of things in decades, not quarters. I was going to say, I don't know how I learned to do that, but I do that because of that, because I'm thinking this is a relationship that it could potentially, maybe it won't, but it could potentially lead to other things. This is a person that I believed in to begin with. I know that this will come back to me one day, maybe 24 years from now. Something will happen. A phone call will be made. And that's enough. And also because I diversify my investments. No one company and no one fund should ever make or break your portfolio. That's why you have a portfolio. That's why you give the founders the years it takes to build something, give them a chance. While there's a clear distinction between company revenue and personal wealth, the journey of achieving significant business milestones equips you with the tools, mindset, and network to build personal wealth. It's about leveraging business success, learning from failures, and applying those lessons to your financial journey.